Hey everyone, good morning. Today I'm going to talk about 6 ways to drive traffic to your own website and the pros and cons to them. Okay, so you can make a really informed decision as to which one you want to focus on. You probably know this if you kind of follow me for a while. I don't focus on every way to drive traffic to my website. I focus on one, master it, and then eventually I work on something else, master it, and etc. and so forth. And it's really important that I go over the pros and cons to everybody, so then you can make, I guess, a well-informed decision as to what will work for you in your business. FYI, there's also certain ways to drive traffic to your website that are better than others depending on what you sell. So we're also going to go over some examples that will help many of you determine, which one is the best method to drive traffic to your website. And then after that one is done, let's say if you already worked on it or you're working on it, you want to know what the next thing to do, the most logical thing to do, I'm going to tell you what that is, okay, based on your market. Now, FYI, if I don't mention your market here, just during the examples, you're more than welcome to say, hey, Dahlia, this is what I sell. What should I be working on first? What should I be working on second? Okay, so we're going to make this, well, all the Facebook Lives are pretty interactive, but this is going to be more interactive, where I'm going to be asking you what you sell, and I'm going to help you determine which ways you should be focusing on first and second and maybe even third to drive traffic to your website, okay? And by the way, some of these ways may be a tie. Like I might say work on this and this, tied, okay? And then the last thing you should be working on is this, okay? So then if I give you a tie between 2 things, if you have plenty of time on your hands, work on both. If you don't, just pick one. I want to mention something, okay? And I've seen this before. I mentioned it before, but I want to mention it again. I've seen people in other groups that people are either upset with Etsy or they're gaining less traffic than they used to, or something is up, okay? And then somebody recommends in a comment or a reply, they recommend getting their own website. The time I saw this, I see this all the time. The recent time I saw this was somebody was complaining about the Etsy fees. Now, it was a very odd post because there was a lot of questions that needed to be asked because they were posting, and you guys might have saw it because you guys belong to a lot of Etsy groups. The person asked, the person showed that she was negative. Like she made some revenue, she had expenses, and she was negative. And that didn't even count overhead and all that jazz, okay? The person's like, wait, how? How could you be negative? It didn't make sense that your revenue and then your cost of goods sold pretty much, along with advertising, made you negative, unless you're really making silly decisions. I don't know what ended up resulting from that. There's one person that actually ended up saying that they should just have their own website because there's not as much fees as Etsy, which is true, give or take, because Etsy will charge you credit card transaction fees, which is like PayPal does that and blah, blah. But Etsy also charges another fee for you being on their platform for every listing that gets sold, 30 cents plus, I think, 3% or something like that. I forget, okay? And so, yeah, you're saving that percentage, but the reality is when that person wrote that reply, I'm like, does that person know, okay, that they just told that person to start their own website, but with no absolute plan? Places like Amazon and Etsy will provide traffic for you in a sense, okay? So you get on that platform, you work on things like SEO and such, and when people search for you, they find your product, okay? Certain product markets are higher demand than others or more saturated than others, granted, but people come to Etsy. And, so to speak, that swimming pool is not as large, okay, as Google. So when people search within Etsy, they may find your product, right? And so that's a great advantage to have when you're selling on Etsy and Amazon. So when you are first starting selling new online, I highly recommend not getting your own website first. I say get Etsy, get Amazon, you get your feet wet. But when you just venture out to your own website, why is it that people feel like it's easy to open your own website in the sense that, oh, if Etsy's screwing with your traffic, just open your own website and get traffic there? Why do people feel it's that easy? Why do people feel that you can just open it and people will come? What is the miscommunication here? Let me know down below. Michelle, because they don't think it's an actual job, or has been my experience. That's interesting. I don't think they realize the connection to when you put the website out there. They don't understand, like, how could you not get traffic? You got it for Etsy, you got it for Amazon. I think what they fail to realize the connection that Etsy and Amazon, well, Amazon more than Etsy, there's people behind it, and they work hard or whatever to get traffic there, so that when they search within that search, they find you. Your website is, you're behind that. You're the one working on getting the traffic in any which way, or if you're not, you're not at the moment. Currently, ways I get traffic, you guys know this, is Google SEO, so people find me in Google, email, in my email list, my repeat customers who just know my brand name, and Pinterest, okay? Angela, yes, I love the Talk.to app, and my customers love the instant message feel of it. Yeah, I agree. Right now, I'm seeing my customer navigating through my website. Okay, so absolutely, I have the best combos with a customer. Cool, awesome. I don't think they are thinking that far ahead. I think they are mad at this one part of Etsy, or Amazon jumped the gun. Yes, I agree with that. I think they're not, and sometimes we don't think clearly in other reasons, right? I'm very practical and logical when it comes to a lot of things, but sometimes I can't think of at the moment what that is. I'm logical in a lot of things, but like there's some things I guess you guys could relate that in certain areas of our life we're not, and so we act emotionally, right? And we're like, we're mad at Etsy, we're mad at whatever, and like we're like, I'm getting my own website and I'll show them, right? And then when you're there, you're like, oh. So I'm here to inform people who are newer to online selling. Be emotional, be mad, but think logically and understand that while I think it's great to have your own website, as soon as you start to get the hang of running your own business, you have to have a plan. There has to be some plan. You can't literally put it up there. I met somebody who was accidentally getting traffic from Google to her website, meaning she didn't have any major plan. She just listed her items using regular keywords that described the items, and she was coincidentally getting traffic. Now she's working on Google SEO. She's getting more traffic. And it takes a while to obviously snowball, but you guys get what I'm saying. So anyway, sorry, I just came in mid-sentence and thought the question was about why non-sellers think it's easy to get traffic without trying. Oh, okay. Well, no, you weren't technically way off, but I'll take it, All right, so let's just get into it. I want to talk about the 6 different ways to drive traffic to your own website, but not just the 6 different ways, and that's it, but the pros and cons. It's important you understand the pros and cons. You might want to take a few notes or rewatch this, because when you start to understand the pros and cons to them, you start to realize which is worth it to you. Now, do I wish all of you have all of these 6 ways of driving traffic in place? Yes. But the reality is you won't have it when you're first starting out to drive traffic. Okay. And you can use, by the way, all these different ways to your Etsy shop and to your Amazon shop. Well, technically, so most of these ways. Okay. But I'm talking about website today because obviously in the light of talking about the Pinterest webinar, but you're more welcome to use these strategies as well for other platforms. Okay. But I want to make it clear that there are pros and cons to these. Okay, so my cons will be cons and my pros will be pros. And you know that I want you to do them all eventually. Because we're solo entrepreneurs, we don't have a team of 20 people working for us. We don't have a marketing team. We don't have a blah, blah team. We don't. Unless you guys do, I don't know. But we don't. And so I want to say that, just blanket statement. Realistically, work on one thing at a time. That's it. And so providing the pros and cons to you, which I think you guys may be aware of some of them, will help you determine, this will make more sense for me at this moment based on my goals and based on my market. Okay. And so you're more than welcome to comment below regarding what type of market you have, and I can give you some advice. Patty asked, do you have a Marmalead update? Not yet. It's in the works. The Marmalead team is making a few, they're refining, you know how they updated the app, right? The Marmalead app. And they recently just made another small change. They're making a few other small changes, and I already kind of outlined what I want to discuss, but it will be updated shortly. Now, and for those of you who are like, yes, we want to update. Currently, the best way for me to do it is I'm putting it in the private SEO group. Yes, would you like it in easy to follow training videos? Yes, but I also spoke with a member yesterday saying it's a little hard for me to, like, I could teach you, like if I talk to somebody one-on-one, I could teach you the new Marmalead all day long, but that doesn't make it easy to understand. I have to put it in a way that's easy to understand. With this new, app, there's a few other factors that's making it hard for me to teach in an easy to understand fashion. Okay, I could talk about it all day long, but I worry that it's hard to catch on to the way I'm teaching it. So I'm trying to refine it before I teach it in a video format. So currently all I'm doing is posting in the private group, answering questions. People are posting screenshots, which I love, and I'm helping them, etc. Okay? All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about the 6 different ways to drive traffic to your own website. And this is it's not in a particular order, okay? The first one's not better than the last one. It's just, I'm showing it out there, okay? Pinterest, obviously, right? We're talking about Pinterest. Pinterest is a really great way to drive traffic. I'm talking about the pros and cons. I mentioned some yesterday. Pinterest is a way to drive traffic because when people pin your products or you pin them yourself, People see them, the Pinterest users see them. And what I absolutely love about Pinterest more than social media, and by the way, it's not a social media platform, is that on social, let's talk about Instagram for a second. You post, and you have to say something like, oh, click the link in the profile, or blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, fine. There's some method to that madness, and somehow it works. So there's some people that actually sell successfully on Instagram. But it's not a direct link. You don't click on the photo and it directs. Right now, there are some updates that Instagram is working on that helps people with this. You have to have a certain amount of followers. You have to be approved. But nonetheless, Pinterest, when you pin something and somebody likes it, they can click on it and it goes directly to your website. So you know how I always talk about don't make your customers work hard? I feel like that's what Instagram does. I'm not talking about Instagram. There's definitely a place and time for it. I definitely agree with that. But I love Pinterest. One of the pros is because it links directly to your website. Okay, so when somebody does find your pin and they're interested in that product, it links directly to them. Okay, I also love that it's a very visually appealing place. Okay, so we sell products online, so the look of it is actually very important. You know, we have to make sure that we capture people's hearts, okay, and attention with our products. And so any visually appealing place such as Instagram, Pinterest is really important for our product type. Okay, like for example, like, you know, I know Twitter has photos and stuff, but don't use Twitter, right? Don't use Twitter. This looks good. Okay, so that was a couple of the pros. Another pro that I love about Pinterest is it provides tons of free traffic. Because you work to get it, but after a while it starts to snowball, which is another pro, by the way. You know, snowballing effect, I talk about it in a vlog of mine before. I talk about it here and there. You know, you guys understand the idea of a snowball, right? It starts off small and it goes bigger and bigger. So it's a pro and con. It starts off small, but eventually starts to grow and grow. You know, I started my Pinterest strategy on my own website sometime in October. Well, finished it sometime in October. And right now I'm getting decent traffic from it. You guys know I post all the time in my Instagram stories. I get decent sales from it. But what's going to happen 6 months from now, a year from now? I'm going to get much more than that, right? And it starts to snowball if I'm doing all the right moves. And so I want to say that it is a pro because it provides tons of free traffic. And another pro, I just keep building on it, is passive, right? So you don't do anything after you implement it, okay? You check on it once in a while. That's why I do once in a while, maybe like once a month. And that's it. It's just a roll in. And again, the slight con to it is that it takes time. But for any other snowballing strategy, if I may say so, this one is the snowball that gains traction the fastest, in my opinion. Okay. So another snowballing strategy is email list, Google SEO. It takes time to build, right, for you to see great results from it. Pinterest is the fastest snowballing strategy. Okay, so here's another, I want to point out a con. Okay, I mentioned it yesterday. There's no hiding it. People understand it. Pinterest users, they are not loyal. They're not looking for the brand Modern Pen Paper on Pinterest, and they love me and they search for me, right? And they go to my website. They look for personalized stationery. They look for birth announcements. They look for whatever I sell. They find me. They love it because it's beautiful. Remember, it's visually appealing. They go to my website and hopefully purchase. So that's a negative, right? I talked about it yesterday. How do you turn that into a positive? By getting them on your email list to market to them later. But so you could stay on their mind. But also they have lower conversion rates, right? Because they're not brand loyal. You know, they were there to be visually appealed, right, and save ideas for their daughter's first birthday or their nursery. But your item captivated their hearts and they pinned you, and hopefully, you know, eventually purchase you. But you know, people do buy on Pinterest. I've proved it many times. I showed you sales I got from Pinterest, but the conversion rate is lower. It is a con, but this is why not a bad thing, because the passiveness of it, you get tons of free traffic over time without you touching it. So I give you an example yesterday. Right now, imagine I'm getting 1,000 views a month from Pinterest at a 10% conversion. Sorry, 1% conversion, which is 10 sales a month. You know, okay, 10 sales a month, I'll take it. It's not bad. But you know, let's just say a year from now, and I'm just going and giving you a figure, it's 10,000 views a month without me doing anything. It snowballed, right? And so 1% of that, still 1% conversion rate, is 100 people a month without me doing anything. So yeah, the conversion rate is still low. It's still the same, but I'm still getting more and more sales for free because it snowballed. Okay, so that is Pinterest. Some pros and cons. I'm sure there's a couple more pros and cons, but those are the ones that quite a bit. that really stick out to me. So next one, okay, you guys know I'm a big fan of this, is email lists. I definitely have some pros and cons here, okay? So a pro to email list is you have a loyal fan base. They joined your email list probably because they want to purchase from you or about to purchase from you, because sometimes you're probably offering them a percentage off to join your email list, or you offered them after they purchased, right? Particularly loyal fan base. And because it's a loyal fan base, they have higher conversions. It's another pro, okay? It's higher conversions usually, okay? Now, not every email will provide high conversions. It will depend on when you're emailing them. And, you know, like I sent out an Easter email, and it's not a time where I have a lot of sales, meaning I have busier times of the month. So I knew I was not going to convert a lot of people, but I didn't want to not send an email, you know? So anyway, for the most part, they do have high conversions because you have a loyal fan base that trusts you and know you, you know? Unlike, let's say, for example, Pinterest, who they don't know you for the most part because you're getting tons of new customers, okay, on Pinterest. Another thing I want to talk about is a couple of cons, is that it does take time to build. Imagine you start an email list tomorrow and expect to make money from it. Probably not. Why? Because if you started it tomorrow and you're starting to build, you probably only have like 5 to 10 people on your list within a X amount of time, right? Within a week or so. It takes time to build. And yes, you can still email those 5 to 10 people in the next couple of weeks, right? For your Easter sale or whatever sale. But the reality is there's only like, remember I told you about the 1,000 people coming and 1% conversion? But when you only have 5 people, 1% conversion, that's not even a person, right? So the lower the number, the higher the people on your list, the lower the chances you'll get to convert people, because normal conversions are like, you know, 1 to 3% or even a little bit higher on email lists. So you have to think about that. The more people you have on it, the better, right? So the con is it does take time to build, but the pro is when it does build and you have people on it, every time I send out an email, I make money. You know, so you know how you post on social media. I hate talking about social media because it is a strategy to drive traffic to your website. But you know, when you post on social media, I'm not sure who's looking at it, right? How many people looking at it, or if your competitors are. On email lists, it's very targeted people, and so it brings in better conversion rates. Okay. Well, I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's a pro and con. It does take time to build, but it will provide really great things for you when that time comes, when it builds bigger. And it's like another snowballing strategy, okay? So that's that. Now let's continue. I already talked about Pinterest and email lists. Google SEO, okay? Now, let me talk about SEO in general. When you're on Etsy, you do Etsy SEO. When you're on Amazon, you do Amazon SEO. When you're on your own website, you do Google SEO. Are they different? Yes. Should you be using some of your techniques in the ones you learned in other places on your website? Probably not, okay? Because of the application is different. Don't do it, okay? Because it could really hurt you in Google rankings. I'm going to start out with a con, okay, with Google SEO, okay? I love Google SEO, brings me a lot of traffic. But the con is it takes time to implement, okay? I don't know how much products you have in your website, but the regular keyword part, in my opinion, does not take a lot of time, okay? There's a lot more steps than when you consider Etsy and Amazon, but that's not the thing that takes a lot of time for me. It's everything else. There is, and I talk a bunch more about it in detail in my Google SEO webinar, but there is, you know, your basic one that you understand when using keywords, and there's also off-site. My Etsy app was not working. I haven't heard a cha-ching in such a long time because I usually put it on silent. So yeah, it takes time to implement, and there's something called off-site SEO, and off-site SEO has nothing to do with keywords particularly. It has a lot to do with your domain quality. It has a lot to do with backlinking. It has a lot to do with internal linking. Well, that's technically part of the keyword strategy. Anyway, has a lot to do with other things to help Google realize, hey, this website here is a good quality one. When somebody searches for personalized stationery, make sure you show her, or whatever keyword, right? There's other people competing with you, and that does take time. You can implement everything I teach you, but it still does take time because even website age has a lot to do with it, okay? And there's a few other factors, okay? So that's a con I want to mention immediately. I told you it does take time to build that trust with Google. So you might implement some strategies today, and even if you finish, Google does not see you as a master yet because you implemented everything quickly. It's much smarter than a lot of other search algorithms, but nonetheless, it's something that's important to work on. So then again, snowballing over time, it does really good for you. I had my website for 1.5 years now. I'm getting really great traffic from Google. Now, If you want to compare it to 2 years from now, I'll probably get much better traffic, but it does take time, So another thing I want to mention that's positive about it, after you implement and you do some major things to it, some keyword stuff and then some offsite SEO, it becomes kind of passive, meaning you don't have to continue updating it and working on it. There's always things I'm working on to help make my customers' experience on my website a nice one, so like, to convert better. I talked about conversions yesterday in yesterday's Facebook Live, but I do a lot of things, like my assistant and I are working on, well, the small things are variations and how some of them don't not make sense, but they could be better, how our return address box could be better. Like, we're working on all that. So that's great. But in general, the traffic coming from it is pretty passive over time. Now, yes, I will continue to always work on offsite Google SEO, such as making sure that my website always continues to load fast. That's another thing. Working on backlinks, so when I get featured in places and, blah, blah, blah. And that does take time, but in general, the majority of it is passive, okay? And I have to say this, it has decent conversion rates. According to how much Google traffic I get and how much people convert from that traffic. So imagine, give you an example, if I get 100 people a month from Google and I get 10 people that convert, that is, 10%, right? And that is made up that number. But from what my number was, it was a decent amount of conversions, So that's what I think is a pro, okay? Okay, Melissa says, you recommend Shopify, but I have been told repeatedly that Google loves and prefers WordPress sites. This is true. Not necessarily, okay? In a perfect world, maybe. But get that out of your mind for a second. Let me explain something, okay? You have two sites, WordPress and Shopify. They both sell the exact same thing. Jewelry, personalized silver jewelry, okay? And so what Melissa may be saying is, hey, the WordPress site is going to look better in Google's eyes. Why is that? Maybe because it's self-hosted, maybe because it appears to be better quality because people who have a WordPress site buy their own hosting. It's not easy to set up. So it feels like the owner has more invested and is more trustworthy. Okay, because Shopify, anybody can set up a Shopify site. It's fairly easy, blah, blah. So that's a good point. However, there's other factors that make Google like you better over others. Now, so again, here is WordPress, here's Shopify. So right now, because of the natural platform, yes, it's a little up. But there's other factors that determine it. What if this WordPress site, this jewelry WordPress site, has some large images on the front page, and actually all of its pages, it has a slow page loading time. It just dropped. But this one has images that load very quickly. Okay, so you see what happens? And so the WordPress site has been around a little bit longer. Okay, so that goes up a little bit. But this one has been around a little bit less, so it goes down. You see how it goes back and forth? So the platform you're using is only a piece of the algorithm of why this WordPress platform had low, slow page loading pages, has higher bounce rates, which means people don't stay on the website after they land on the first page. All these negatives, okay, has sucky SEO, blah, blah, blah. But this one, the Shopify site, has some decent things going on with it based on everything I just said. You could bet your butt that the Shopify site will be found more for those keyword phrases because they're the exact same site. I hope that answers your question, Melissa. There's a lot of factors that determine it. And yes, the platform is one of them. And obviously Google understands what platform you're using. But the reason why that is partly true, just a little bit true, Melissa, is because Google sees that statistically many WordPress sites are trustworthy compared to many Shopify sites, okay? But that's not the only factor, and that's why it's part of domain quality. Google will like you more if you have a .com as opposed to dahliasilverjewelry.shopify.com, right? Because it's more trustworthy. So does that make sense? It starts to build data and understands that this is better over the other, but not by drastic measures. So that's why it's not that big of a deal. In fact, I know that Shopify is a very trusted site in Google's eyes. Okay, so let's get into the other one. Social media. Okay, as you guys currently know, I'm working on the top 3 in my own website: Pinterest, email list, Google. Social media is one that I'm not currently working on, not because I hate it, okay, but based on the pros and cons, for me, it has more cons than I'm comfortable with, like compared to the other ones. So while there are some pros to social media, when you are a solo entrepreneur and you only have very limited resources, such as time, you're going to choose the best ones for you, right? And I feel like social media is not so much. And don't get fooled by all the likes that you're getting and all those, emoji comments. Don't let it fool you, okay? So here's some, I'm gonna start out with cons, because it's what I immediately think of. It's not passive. For social media to work, you have to actively be on it. Email list is something similar. You could make email lists passive, but it's also an active thing. Like if you want to continue working on emails as it comes, and great, as holidays come, great. However, you could pre-schedule a year in advance. So there's ways to make it passive, not passive. And yes, you could schedule social media. I agree with that. But nonetheless, it's not passive also because you have to repeatedly do it. And so email lists, there's a difference between email lists being you could schedule in advance compared to social media. Social media is to schedule much more in advance. So in order, for example, let's talk about Instagram. I always like to refer to Instagram. If you want to make it work, part of the equation is posting posting consistently each day, every day. And so 3 times a day, 2 times a day. And so that's way more posts it's way more active than email lists. Email lists, I could schedule, and I have scheduled my whole year out. And that's pretty much 1 email a month. When the email sends out, I do segmenting where I do follow-ups, okay? That doesn't take me a long time. So the point is, it's much more active, and that's fine, but we have limited time, and I think the other options are better. I'm just calling it like I see it, okay? It does take time to build. So let's say if you start out with 0 followers, if you want quality followers, it's important to have quality followers because, some people do make money on social media. I highly respect it. It does take time to build, okay? What else? I would tell you a couple of pros. I'm sure you got to think of pros yourself. A couple of pros are all the cool kids are on it. So if you have a certain type of market that absolutely works for Instagram, then it makes sense for you to be on it, especially if you feel like, compared to the other options I gave you, it's probably one of your biggest priorities. If you probably think that your market's hanging on Instagram, they're probably also hanging out on Pinterest. Just want to throw it out there, give or take. It just depends. And so it's also very visually appealing. So if you have very visually appealing products and you take photos that are, staged or whatever, and if you're really good at that type of stuff, then it's a really great place to be, okay? But only if your products are visually appealing. If not, nobody wants to follow you. It's not inspiring to them, okay? All right, so let's continue. I talked about social media. I have 2 more to go over, okay? 5. Okay, this is not popular amongst this crowd. I've noticed we don't talk about it often, and that's fine. Again, there's different priorities for people. You might have other priorities that you're working on, and that's cool, okay? But this one's blogging. I think it's a very interesting one. So I'm going to tell you how blogging works, okay? But a pro to it is that you don't need to blog consistently. People think you have to blog consistently. You do if you have followers to your blog. That's not how you win, okay? You just need really good blog articles or blog posts that target your target market. And so imagine you sell kids baby clothing. This is a really good one I think about all the time. Kids baby clothing, onesies, okay? And so you sell onesies. And so what are you blogging about, okay? And I hope you guys can connect the dots here. You blog about things like 10 ways to baby-proof your apartment, okay? Top 5 nursery themes in 2018. 1 second. Sorry, 20 baby names that nobody else will have. Okay, so unique baby names. I'm making this up so that the titles are not perfect, okay? So what am I doing here? I'm creating things that the target market would absolutely love and absolutely need. So the point is, you're making these articles that target your market. And so why is this important? Because the people that are interested in your products would search for these on Google, like baby-proof apartment, right? Or whatever. What I have to buy, what I have to take with me to the hospital, whatever, okay? And so while they're searching for it, hopefully you did some Google SEO to your blog posts, okay? And by the way, I have a little bonus section in the Google SEO webinar that talks about Google SEO for blog posts, okay? So that's a cool one. Check it out if you are interested in blogging. Besides that, you also want to use Pinterest to spread out your blogging, and so to bring traffic. And that's a really great way, Putting blogs on Pinterest is a very fantastic way to get traffic to your website. And of course, within that blog post, you may be recommending some of your products or whatever, provide really good value to these people. And of course, that blog will be on your website. So if you play your cards right, that person that comes to your blog will see your website, can potentially see your products, join your email list, etc., and so forth. So the last way to drive traffic to your website, okay, and this is the most popular ways, is advertising. I put this as the last one because it does cost money, okay? And this is, in my opinion, this should be one of the last things you should be doing. If you are a business that has a team of people behind you and a lot of funds, you're more welcome to do advertising way before any other strategies I mentioned. Heck, if you don't have a lot of money, you're still more than welcome to do it and go in the hole, right? But what makes sense for my members and for entrepreneurs like us, is to do advertising the last thing, in my opinion. Okay, so when a lot of these are in place, or most of these are in place, then advertising is something you should be considering if you know how to do it. Okay, so the first things I think about when it comes to advertising is many places to advertise. Instagram, Facebook, Google, you know, and I'm not talking about advertising on Instagram. I'm sorry, in Amazon and Etsy. Those are really great places to advertise before way before you do Facebook ads and Instagram ads. But nonetheless, advertising does cost money, so that's kind of a con. It costs money to keep up, right? So if you do use advertising on Etsy and Amazon, fine. I think that's a great strategy if it's working for you. But don't ignore doing SEO and other things, because imagine you only did advertising to get the traffic you're getting. When that money goes away, if it ever does, it sucks, because it solely relies on that money to get people in. I want you to work on some free ways, like I mentioned up above, and then you can work on some paid for ways. That's why I mentioned advertising as the last thing, okay? So that's a con, okay? But a pro, it can be very targeted to bring in high conversions. I mentioned this yesterday. When using, example, Facebook ads, and Facebook in general is really smart. You could highly target the correct people to bring in high conversions. That's a pro, right? Another pro, to bring in high conversions. So I talked about retargeting. You could target people that already went to your website and get them to come back, especially for those Pinterest users, you know, I'm talking about. And there's other things to do. You know, you could target everybody in your email list to make sure that they see your ad. I mean, there's different ways, okay, to use advertising campaigns such as Facebook and things like that to be really, really effective. And so that is a pro only if you know how to use it. So you could have some luck, but if you have to learn how to use it efficiently to give you the most return. Okay, otherwise you could be pouring money down a hole. Okay. Okay. Laura says, I missed the part on Tuesday's live. Would you please is good and not good for Pinterest? I didn't mention it. Oh, I see you saying I take broken vintage and turn it into jewelry and home decor. Not sure if I'm making it by using it. Laura, if you sell vintage and or one-of-a-kind pieces, stay far away from Pinterest. That's it. That's it. Now, Laura might be like, okay, but I was about to buy it. What do I do now? Stay far away from it. It sounds exciting, right? I think I'm talking about. It does. It sounds really exciting. But if you have a portion of your shop that is, you know, not one-of-a-kind or vintage, then great. Use it for that one. But the reason why is because you're working on this traffic that's passive and that builds and snowballs. So what happens is this pin of this cool phone case gets pinned into the world, and what you're trying to bank on is that this pin keeps being shown to people. Well, hopefully very soon it gets sold, and now this is a broken link. Not just a broken link, but you just wasted your time pinning this item, and now it leads to nowhere. Now, yes, Laura could say, well, Dahlia, I could redirect this link to other sections of my website that are other, you know, vintage vases by using the redirect app on my website. Granted, but there's something to be said about, you know, if someone wants this product but they see something else, the conversion might be lower. And there's something to be said about your time, your valuable time being used on a strategy that is probably best to be used somewhere else. And so for you, I highly recommend things like an email list, highly, and or Instagram, depending on what your groove is. And because, you know, if you have a loyal fan base, then when you have one-of-a-kind items and you email them, it's really cool, because it's like, okay, everybody knows that there's only one-of-a-kind pieces. So when it gets sold, it's sold. They're looking for that email. And anyway, there's more to it. But yeah, I would not use Pinterest if you sell one-of-a-kind or vintage items. That's the biggest red alert to me. Okay, I hope that answered your question, Laura. If all you sell is one-of-a-kind items, then please stay far away from this Facebook Live. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's important to understand how you drive traffic to your own website. That's important. For you, Laura, the biggest thing that stands out to me is email lists. And here's why I say email lists over Instagram, because they both work well for your type of market. I feel like the feed on your Instagram will always stay there if somebody looks at your profile. And that's fine. They could be inspired by the awesome stuff that you provide for your customers. It's fine. But the conversion rates are usually higher on email lists. And after you build that loyal fan base, it's going to take some time. You build a loyal fan base. And then when you send out an email, you can bet that when you start creating this product, it's an absolutely fantastic product. Remember, you know, these strategies are not immune to you. Like, it's not these strategies don't work if you don't have fantastic product, right? But imagine you have fantastic products that came out because you just created them, they're one of a kind. Emailing people saying, hey, there's literally like one left of each, right? This is what one of a kind is. Gives them more like urgency to buy immediately. That's why I love email lists, okay? You are welcome. Okay, guys, I will catch you later. And that's it. Have a great day. Bye.